Hello, welcome to our channel. Guess what time it is? It's news time. So thank you so much for visiting us today. And since you're here, we appreciate if you take a moment to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you get to hear about our post instantaneously, and you're one of the first ones to watch the video. And if you enjoy the video, hey, do us a solid and like the video. And honestly, at this point, we are not interested in the likes. We hope that you subscribe and hopefully you enjoy the content. And if you do, then like the video. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So today on live, Chief was having breakfast or dinner or lunch with the ladies, and he did a live on loyalty. And he really emphasized that knowledge does not mean a lot. And he put a lot of focus on loyalty. So let me run this back a bit. Okay, I'm going to unpack it. I'm going to unpack it a bit. So we know that loyalty is a big issue for Chief right about now because Velvet left the community. He saw that as an act of defiance and that she was being disloyal by leaving. He has a new member, Zoca, who is on the fence. And when I share you this juicy news, you will see what it is that I'm talking about her being on the fence. I believe Chief, he knows that Zoca is not ready. And I'm going to make a prediction. I predict that she will not be chiefess. And matter of fact, I predict that she's already been demoted, but they're not talking publicly about it. If you go back, initially when she first came, he had her front and center. And then when they had their little formations, he would have her smack dead in the middle. So we know that the leader is always in the middle when it comes to carbonation. So when Chief is doing the photos, you never see him on the side. And let's say, for instance, True being in the middle, in the front and center. No, you'll never see that. So it only makes sense to me that the same protocol would be filtered down to his followers. So if you notice in the beginning, Zoca, she was in the middle where I think that there's been some back office conversations that we are not privy to. And if you notice, now Aya is in the middle. I will show you differences within the photos. And again, hey, what do you think? I'm gonna let you decide. And so now when you see the pictures that are coming out, Zoca is no longer in the middle, where the chiefess is supposed to be at the head in the middle, and she's no longer there. So my prediction is that she is no longer the chiefess. She is in training, and he rushed to give her that title, and now he's trying to run it back. But he can't run it back publicly. He can only run it back in subtle ways by taking a look at, by showing us in pictures and the way that they're seated, etc. So that's not the valuable news, right? The valuable news is the question that he asked the ladies. So he asked the ladies, what makes a person valuable to you? And this is where it starts getting interesting. Oh, my good Lord. I was like, thank you. We were having a watch party and we were all very thankful that he did this live because it gave us the ability to analyze the micro expressions of the ladies. Now, if you know body language, and I know that a lot of carbonation viewers and followers understand body language, right? So I'm not, educating you guys or giving you new information. And frankly, there's a lot of information out there about body language and micro expressions. And that's what I want to focus on is micro expressions. And for those of you who don't know what micro expressions are, Google it. But let me give you the real short version, okay? Micro expressions is facial expressions that occur instantaneously, spontaneously, and it exhibits the feelings that we have on the inside that we typically don't verbalize. But the way that our human body works is we are emotional beings. And I'm not saying that we're like highly emotional. It's just that we have emotions, and that's how we've been created. And the reason why we express micro expressions is because we are expressive beings. We have to express ourselves. So whenever you're in a situation where you're unable to express yourself, like Velvet was in, you're not going to be in those situations for too long, especially if you don't mentally get yourself together, where you just abandon the whole need to verbalize the way that you're feeling, similar to what Pluto is doing. But hey, I digress. So micro expressions have to come out. There's no way to hide them. They're just natural. They're just very, very natural, and you just cannot hide them. And this is where it becomes hot, juicy news for news time. So he goes around round table and he asks all of the ladies, what makes a person valuable to you? So he goes to Jyah, and I'll talk about them first, and Zion, because I think that they did a really good job. And I have my assumptions as to why that is so. Well, we know that Jyah loves Chief. We know that. So she's bought into the mission. I don't think that she's being fake or phony. She is a part of the mission. And when he asked her the question about what makes a person valuable to you, then I think she was speaking from the heart. And so, she wasn't disguising any emotions. She was speaking from the heart. And that's the case with Zion as well. But the people that were iffy is Pluto and Zoca. Now, I want to talk about Malia, but I want to talk about, let's talk about Pluto first, okay? So he asked Pluto the question, and she answers it because, Pluto is knowledgeable, okay? Immortal Pluto is knowledgeable. She has the answers. But remember, earlier in another video, I talked about my feelings about Pluto and the fact that she's not there for the relationship with Chief. She has to play the role, and she tolerates being one of Chief's wives. But I don't think she's there for Chief. I personally believe that she's bisexual, which I don't have a problem with. I think people could be whatever sexuality they want to be. That's not an issue. What I'm trying to emphasize here is that she tolerates Chief. She's not in love with Chief. She's probably in love with, other women that within the community that she's having relationships with. And she enjoys being a part of the community, the freedom, all the things that you benefit by leaving Babylon. And again, I'm not saying that I'm an avid supporter of carbonation, but some of the things that they talk about as to why you need to leave Babylon is attractive. You don't work, you spend time talking about spirituality, you spend time in nature. All of those things really are healthy things. And when I hear people say they need to come back to Babylon and get a life, I'm like, this is not the life. That's the life. The only problem is we don't want to deal with manipulation. You want to be a part of a community that's going to allow you to grow and develop. And there's a lot of manipulation that's going on at Carbonation. And that's where the Chief is going south, right? I watched Chief and some of the other commentators here on the News Time channel. We've been watching Carbonation for quite some time, and we remember when he was called Nature Boy. And Nature Boy is different than Chief, that I will say. But anyways, so Pluto, I will show you. Here is a look of Pluto's contempt for Nature Boy when he asked the question. See, one thing about contempt, you cannot hide it. You can't hide it. So I just want to show it and let everybody know that Pluto, there's something else going on. She's certainly not down with everything that Chief is saying, and nor should she be. She has a right to have her own opinion. So that's all that, or her own feelings. So that's all I'm going to say about Pluto. So now I'm going to talk about Malia. It goes without saying that we at News time, we love Malia. Malia has a beautiful spirit. I think that she's a beautiful person. She is a follower per se, not necessarily a leader, but that's okay. You don't necessarily have to be a leader. And she's quite loyal. And I do believe that she loves Chief. And he is so hard on her. We said this in our last news time video. We said that Chief is very hard on Malia, and I don't know why he does that. So let me get into the example. So he comes to Malia and he says to her, what makes a person valuable to you? So she is happy. She's bubbly. You can see in the picture here, she's smiling. She says dedication, perseverance, understanding, compassion, love, loyalty, commitment. And then there's one part where she kind of fumbles a bit, and I don't even know why she did this. And I don't know if it was the facial expressions of Chief, which we could not see. So there was no way for us to understand what was going on with her. But she made the mistake in saying the MODs, and she said, I don't know why I can't think of them now. But here's the thing. She was already reciting the MODs. So I don't know why she said that. And then as soon as she said that, Chief came down with a hammer. He was like, it should come naturally right out of your mouth. And of course, I can't say it the way that he was saying it, but the video is still out there on the Chief's page on, if you go there, hopefully it's still out there. And if not, maybe you can visit the tea time so that you can take a look for it yourself, which I do encourage you to do. And he said, be real. It's not about being right. Be real. Here's the thing. She was being real. She was truly expressing her feelings, and based upon her micro expression analysis, she was happy in saying what she was saying. It was not until she had made that statement and he was upset with it, and the whole energy changed. And this is the look of sadness. And I felt so bad for Malia in that moment. And so this message is for Malia directly. And I want to tell you, Malia, you did an awesome job. I think that you're a beautiful person. We all at News Time think that you're a beautiful person. And we think that you nailed the question. There's nothing that you need to be upset about. We've run the tape back a few times, and I don't know what went wrong with Chief and why he was picking on you in that particular moment, but just know you did a good job. So then he goes on to Zoca, and I want to say this. If you notice, Chief, he's caught wind of the fact that Zoca, in terms of her facial expressions, she has some learning to do. And while micro expressions are natural, there's ways that you can minimize the degree of micro expressions on your face, especially if you know that you're on camera. Actors do it. News reporters do it. There's a lot of people that know how to control their micro expressions. The things that go against Zoca is her age. She doesn't have a lot of experience, and she's just gotten as popular because of her involvement with carbonation. If you go to her Instagram page, you will see that she wasn't getting 2,000 views way back when. You know, it was not until she became involved with carbonation where she's been getting a lot of fame and publicity, and she's not yet adapted to that. So Chief understands that, because, you know, we're all up in the lives, and he doesn't put the camera on her as much as he used to in the beginning, because a lot of people was commenting on her facial expressions. And now she's being more cognizant of her facial expressions, but she's learning. So you will see that he's going to ask questions. She's going to talk, but he's not going to put the camera in her face as much as he was doing before, particularly if they're having conversations or she's giving the knowledge out. So another thing that I want you guys to pay attention to is that her videos are edited big time, right? Remember I told you guys that Zoca didn't know the knowledge, and we're not picking on her. We think that she's a beautiful person, but all of this hype about how knowledgeable she is, it was a bunch of BS. She is not as knowledgeable. She knows the basics, and she's a student, so she's studying, but he was telling everyone that she's so knowledgeable. So if you tell us that, that is now our expectation of her. And unfortunately, she's not been able to live up to the expectation. And hey, we're saying if you're a student, say you're a student, but don't come in here acting like you're going to just jump into Velvet's position and spit the knowledge on the same level as Velvet or Mama Joy. You're not going to be able, I mean, Mama Joy will put you under the bus in a minute, in a heartbeat. So that's why you see, like a politician, our chief, he's saying, you don't have to really know the knowledge. All you have to do is be loyal. Well, here's the problem. Zoca is not that loyal at this point. She is one heartbeat away from leaving Carbonation. Okay. And so now he's doing what my team here calls manipulation. He's doing a lot of manipulating, and he's giving these talks about loyalty. Focus on that as you watch Carbonation moving forward. He's going to talk a lot about loyalty. Now, we all know he's not saying that for Jyah. He's not saying that for Pluto. He's not saying it for Zion. He's not saying it for Malia. Those four, they're ride or die. They're not going anywhere. Those that were fickle, they've already left, okay? The only fickle person now is Zoca. So why are you giving a message about loyalty unless you're talking to Velvet and you want her to feel bad for leaving, or you're talking to Zoca because you want her to feel bad for even thinking about leaving. So back to Zoca. So he puts the camera on Zoca and he gives her an opportunity to answer the same question. What makes a person valuable to you? So Zoca, remember I said she's a little feisty, right? So she hits him with some of his same medicine. She says, what makes a person valuable to me is how I can use them. Oh my God, we had to pause the tape and bust out laughing because she gave Chief some of his own medicine. So what does that say about Ms. Zoca? She's using him, he's using her. So, hey, if they're down with using one another, so be it, but we want to call it out. So she says that, and he says, I like that. Then he puts the camera on Malia. Why does he do that? Does he want her to feel bad because Zoca, who is feisty and it's in her nature to use people to make Malia feel bad for not feeling comfortable with using someone? Well, here's the thing. Malia is a gentle spirit. She's not going to say anything like that. That's just not in her nature. But it is in Zoca's nature to say something like that. So let's get back to the micro expressions. So she again says the things that she believes that the chief wants to hear. And remember, that's another thing that we said. We said that Zoca, she is playing the chief. She's telling him exactly what he wants to hear. And I'm not saying that she's not there to grow, but I think that it's probably not what she thought it was. She's enjoying some of it, but it's a bit harder than she thought it would be. And she's coming under a lot of criticism, which before she got to Carbonation, people were checking her out, but she was kind of like a fantasy. Oh, yes, this is his another potential direct. And as soon as she stepped off the plane in the tropics, we were like, okay, this is going to be good. And now everybody is all in her shit and she's feeling the heat. So she tells him what he wants to say, and he goes on and he's talking all of this crazy stuff about loyalty. And let me tell you, she has contempt and disgust all in her face. And so we were able to capture it, and we're pleased to share it with you. And we do encourage you to go back and watch the live streams yourself. And I recommend that you slow the video down. you're not going to be able to understand what they say initially. So you want to go through the video in its entirety and hear what they are saying, and then mark down at certain minutes and seconds when you believe that you've seen a micro expression, and then slow it down. And when you slow it down, I guarantee you, you will pick up on those micro expressions. And as you do so, you're going to learn and you'll be able to pick up on it a lot quicker, and you won't have to do as much video slowdowns because you will be able to pick them up when they happen. But the reason why they're called micro expressions is because they happen in a microsecond, right? You have to be able to pay attention. So we're all up in their faces. We want to see what that body language is about. And so I just wanted to take a moment to give you this hot, juicy news. We appreciate you stopping by the channel again. If you want to be up on the videos when they're posted, please subscribe to the video. And if you like what you're hearing, press the like button. And thank you. Peace and love.